In this module, we'll be taking a look at the first E, evolution. It's safe to say that the workplace today looks nothing like it did compared to 2, 5, 10, 20 years ago. And at Trend Hunter, we've been tracking many of these transformations through some of our insights like Appified Office 2.0, Intelligent Workspace, and social hiring. But beyond these examples, the way that we do our work and the way that we view our work is so different. From the furniture that we're putting into our offices, to this idea of trading in our pension for a job with a purpose. From the technologies we use, the way we interact and communicate with clients and colleagues, and even what we've come to expect as benefits from employers. So much has changed. Where we're seeing one of the biggest transformations is with the demographics of today's workplace. For those of you who don't already know, 50% of the workplace will be made up of millennials by next year. And by that same year, Gen Z will account for 20%. That's a total of 70% of the workforce being younger than what you're probably used to. And understanding the differences that these generations bring to the table is critical to your success as a business. What's fascinating is how Trend Hunter's innovation assessment pinpoints the ways that almost all generations differ in the workplace. For instance, we know that boomers actually prefer more variety among their work, whereas Gen Z, they're looking to be a little bit more specialized within their role. 40% of female millennials feel that their ideas aren't heard. And of all the generations, Gen X is the one that has the least amount of faith in their organization's ability to innovate. We know that millennials are more likely to ignore a rule or policy if it gets in the way of something they want to accomplish. And boomers of all generations feel that playing it safe is likely to lead to your downfall. Now, many of these findings challenge the stereotypes that we have about each generation at work. But what I challenge you to do today and tomorrow is to start seeing these differences as simply different and not something negative. Technology is another area experiencing a massive transformation in the workplace. From the way we communicate and share ideas, to how we organize our time, interact with one another, and even how we turn ideas into products. So much has changed. An area experiencing unprecedented change is AI, robotics, and automation. We already know how this type of technology transforms the consumer experience, but how is it altering the world of the employee? Over the next few years, organizations can expect to have 10 to 10,000 times more data than they do today. And data is good for innovation. It enables employees to make more informed decisions, do their jobs more effectively, and ultimately have a bigger and more profound impact within their role. When it comes to AI alone, nearly 50% of work across 800 occupations can already be automated. And while for many of us, our instinct is to internalize this as something scary and daunting, what it really means is that organizations will have more time and dedicated resources for their employees to spend on more complex challenges. Google is a great example of a company really leveraging AI to make day-to-day work for its employees more effective and more efficient. Its most recent product, Google Hire, leverages AI to take care of a long list of tasks related to recruiting, from scanning resumes to even booking that interview. We're also seeing companies leverage AI for training purposes and even engagement tracking. Technology is completely rewriting the rules of the workforce. Not only are new roles emerging, but the type of employee is changing as well. Dell estimates that around 85% of future jobs do not exist yet. They are unknown to us. And while that is really hard to wrap our minds around, there have been some very interesting predictions of jobs that are likely to emerge. Jobs like personal reality designer, digital archaeologist, robot liaison officer, nostalgist, cloud cleaner, and my personal favorite, freelance relationships officer. How romantic. That last one is particularly interesting. We're all familiar with the gig economy, a term that's coming up more and more. The gig economy is where part-time contracts or short-term work is becoming more prevalent. In fact, some studies suggest that almost 50% of the US population will be freelancing within the next 10 years. And this makes a lot of sense when you think about the perks that freelancing offers compared to the traditional 9 to 5 job. Perks like more flexibility with your schedule, autonomy, control over the work you're doing, and of course, the ability to gain more valuable career experience in a shorter amount of time. For many people, these perks outweigh the benefits and security that you receive from a 9 to 5 job. But how do freelancers benefit employers like yourselves? Well, for starters, there's much more access to diverse talent, allowing you to specialize more effectively for those mission-critical projects. They're much more affordable than bringing someone on for a full-time position, and there's much less risk associated with someone you're hiring on for a short amount of time. At Trend Hunter, we've been tracking the insight accelerated outsourcing, where a number of companies, both big and small, are dipping into the freelance pool to become more agile and enhance overall efficiencies. A great example of a company that comes full circle here is Upwork. Upwork is a service that not only caters to the needs of employers looking for freelancers, but also freelancers looking for work. And it's not just smaller companies or startups using this service either. Almost 60% of Fortune 500 companies use Upwork to fill temporary positions and projects. And according to our assessment, this really aligns with how people's preferences and work style are shifting. We know that 52% of people actually prefer variety within their role over specialization. That wraps up the module on the first E of modern work culture, evolution. Some key takeaways for you to remember. The generational landscape of the workplace is changing drastically. Nearly 70% of the workforce is going to be younger than what most people are used to. And understanding and recognizing the differences that these people bring to the table is key. Technology is also playing a really important role in how employees are motivated and how they're communicating with one another. It's also drastically changing how people view their work and what they consider their role to be. When applying this to your own organization, how is your team embracing technology? And what needs to change within your organization to better accommodate a multi-generation workforce? I'll see you at the next module.